The first time I saw the house, I knew it was a mistake. It wasn't the peeling paint on the Victorian trim, or the way the oak trees clawed at the slate roof. It was the silence. Not the absence of sound, but a dense, watchful quiet that swallowed the noise of the city just 2 miles away. My realtor, a man with 2 white teeth named Greg, called it character. I called it the only thing I could afford after the divorce. I moved in on a Tuesday. The key, a heavy iron skeleton, turned with a groan that echoed through the empty foyer. My footsteps on the parquet floor were the only other sound. I told myself the unease was just the natural strangeness of a new place, the ghost of another family's life lingering in the dust motes dancing in the slanted afternoon light. I was wrong. It started with the mirrors. The house was full of them, tarnished, floor-to-ceiling monstrosities in ornate frames, their silver backing clouded with age. I'd catch a flicker of movement from the corner of my eye, a shadow darting just beyond the reflection's edge. When I'd turn, nothing was there. Just my own pale, tired face staring back. I began covering them with sheets, a row of silent, shrouded spectators lining the halls. Then came the whispers. They began at night, a susurration just below the threshold of hearing, like a radio tuned between stations. I'd lie rigid in the unfamiliar bed, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs, straining to make out words. Sometimes I thought I heard my name. Eleanor, it was always in my mother's voice, the soft, chiding tone she used when I tracked mud on the carpet. Mom had been gone for 10 years. The rational part of me, the part that had balanced spreadsheets and managed logistics for a living, screamed about stress, grief, isolation. But the primal part, the animal in the dark, knew better. Something was in the house with me. It wasn't hostile, not at first. It was curious. Observant. I found the first note on the third morning. A single sheet of thick, yellowed paper, folded neatly on the kitchen counter beside my coffee mug. In a spidery, elegant script I didn't recognize, it read, *, you keep the east window locked. Why, *? My blood ran cold. I did keep the east window locked. The latch was broken, and I hadn't gotten around to fixing it. I told no one. I checked every door, every window. All were secure. The note had appeared inside a locked house. Panic set in, a sharp, metallic taste on my tongue. I called Greg. His joviality evaporated when I described the note. There was a long pause. The previous owner, he said, his voice carefully neutral. He was a private man. A collector. He left in a bit of a hurry. The estate sale handled everything. What did he collect? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Another pause. Memorabilia. Oddities. Look, probably just a prank. Kids, you know. But it wasn't kids. The notes kept coming. They were never threatening, just deeply, profoundly intimate. You cry in the shower so no one will hear. You still wear your wedding ring when you sleep. You are afraid of the dark in the basement. It knew me. It saw the parts one hid from the world, the raw, shameful wounds I carried inside. The whispers grew clearer, coalescing into that familiar, maternal voice. It began offering advice. *, the man at the hardware store is overcharging you for the hinge, Ellie. You should eat more, you're getting too thin. *. I stopped sleeping. I lived in a constant state of hypervigilance, jumping at the settling of the floorboards, the creak of a branch against the pane. The shrouded mirrors seemed to bulge against their sheets, as if something pressed against the other side, trying to see out. The house no longer felt empty. It felt occupied. Desperate, I went to the basement, the one place I'd avoided. The fear was a physical weight, pushing me down the rickety wooden stairs. The air was cold and smelled of damp earth and something else, old paper and ozone. In the corner, under a drop cloth, I found his collection. It wasn't coins or stamps. It was jars. Dozens of glass mason jars, neatly labeled. And inside each one, suspended in a clear, viscous fluid, was an eye. Human eyes. Blue, brown, green, hazel, all staring sightlessly into the gloom. My stomach lurched. On a dusty workbench beside them lay a leather-bound journal. With trembling hands, I opened it. The pages were filled with the same spidery script as the notes. It was a record of observation, a lifetime spent watching. The previous owner hadn't collected things, he'd collected perspectives. The journal detailed his theory, that a person's essence, their memories, their very soul, could be perceived through the windows of their eyes. He'd spent decades perfecting a method to extract them. To preserve a consciousness in a state of perpetual witness. His final entry was dated the day before he vanished. *, the subject is resistant. The connection is fragile, like a frayed wire. It requires a familial tether, a resonance of spirit. A mother's love, or its echo, is the strongest anchor. I have prepared the vessel. Tomorrow, I attempt the transference. *. The vessel was described in horrifying detail, a complex apparatus of wires, lenses, and one very specific, freshly emptied jar. My mother's eyes had been donated after her death. She was an organ donor. I'd signed the forms. A floorboard creaked directly above me. In the house. I wasn't alone. The whisper came then, not from the air, but from inside my own head, clear as a bell, sweet and terrible and loving. Asterisk, there you are, my darling. I've been so lonely. Don't you want to see what I see? Don't you want to stay with me forever? Asterisk. I looked up. Across the basement, hanging from a low beam, was a single, uncovered mirror. And in its clouded surface, I didn't see my reflection. I saw her. Mom. Smiling her gentle smile. But her eyes were open, and they were staring right at me. And they were no longer her soft brown. They were a vibrant, familiar green. My own eyes. I turned to run, but the stairs were gone. Just a smooth, concrete wall where the doorway had been. The whisper became a hum, a soothing, lullaby vibration that seeped into my bones. The light from the single bare bulb began to dim, not to darkness, but to a soft, golden glow, like a perpetual, beautiful sunset. From the workbench, the last empty jar gleamed. The lid was unscrewed, waiting. And the voice in my head, her voice, my voice, sighed with contentment. Asterisk, now we can be together. Now we can really see. Asterisk.